Hello everyone. Today we're going to do it's really our last day of notes for Unit 1A. We're going to be talking about ordering rational numbers. So let's go ahead and get started. There's two vocab words that you really need to know, and they are ascending and descending. Ascending means that it's going to be in order from least to greatest. So when you have to order a couple, like some numbers, they're either going to ask you to put it in the least to greatest, meaning smallest first and biggest last, and going up from there, or greatest to least and going down. Ascending, oops, sorry, I'm in school right now, and that's a warning bell. A very long one, too. Ascending means you're going to go from least to greatest, so it's just a fancy word that means least to greatest. Descending is ordering from greatest to least. So the fancy word for greatest to least, descending. Like descending downstairs and ascending upstairs. So example 1, we're going to put the following 5 numbers down here in order from least to greatest. That is something to pay very close attention. I'm not going to do full screen today. Least to greatest is really important, okay? You should always either highlight, underline, box, whatever you need to do whenever they tell you the order to put it in, okay? Box it, underline it, or highlight it, whatever you can do. We are going to fill in the chart below following these instructions, all right? In line 2, so right under the 5 numbers, we are going to write them in decimal form. The reason we're writing it in decimal form is look at all these different numbers. We have decimals, we have fractions, we have percents, we have square roots. That's a lot of different numbers to think about. So if we can all put them in the same form, and usually it's going to be decimal because that's the easiest, we can then compare them because they're actually the same kind of number. All right, so we're going to write them in decimal form. Then on line 3, we're just going to write the order from least to greatest. So we're going to put a 1 under the smallest, and we're actually going to put a 5, so cross this out. We're going to put a 5 under our biggest, and then order them just right underneath it. Okay? So let's start. 0.75, that's already a decimal, so it is 0.75. 1/8, we're going to put in the calculator. We're going to do 1 divided by 8. So if you don't have a calculator in front of you, you should be using Desmos. Okay? Goodness with the bells. Alright, so 1 divided by 8 will actually give us 0.125. Okay? For 2/3, we're going to put that in the calculator. 2 divided by 3 gives us 0.6 repeating, which I'm actually going to go ahead and write it out without the repeating bar, just so we can see a little bit further if we need to. So it's 0.666, and then I'm going to do a ... just to show that it keeps going. Okay? Next, I've got 0.8%, so I got to move that decimal point 2 spaces over, so that is really 0.008. And the square root of 57, I'm going to put in the calculator. So if you're using Desmos, you're just going to do the square root first and then type in 57. If you're using your calculator, your handheld one, you're going to do 57 and then hit the square root button. Okay? But that gives us 7.5498, which again, I'm going to do the ... because that one will go on forever because it's an irrational number and it won't repeat anything. Okay? So now what I'm going to compare, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the front of every number. So this guy has 0, this guy has 0, this guy has 0, and this guy has 0. So those all have the same front number. But this guy has 7. So this one has the biggest front number of all of them. So this is actually our largest number. So this is the one that's going to be the 5, the biggest one, because we're going in least to greatest. So this is our greatest number because it's got the biggest number in front. The rest of them all had zeros. So because they all had the same number in the front, we're going to move to the next digit, so the 10th place. So this guy has a 7, this has a 1, this guy has a 6, and this has a 0. So the next biggest would be this guy, because this one had the biggest digit in that section. So this is number 4. Okay? Then we can keep looking at it because they all had different ones. Then we still have a 1, a 6, and a 0. 6 was the next biggest, so that was our 3. Where'd it go? The next biggest was the 1, which was our second number. And this guy is actually our smallest because it had the smallest number in the tens place. Okay? So that is our order. Because we're going through each digit and comparing each digit. Alright? Now that we figured out our order, we're going to write the original. I'm going to highlight it right now. Ooh, yeah. The original number from line 1 in order from least to greatest. So our first number, and we're going to use the rankings here in the third one to help us. The first number was actually 0.8%. So that is what we're going to write first. 0.8%. The next biggest number was this guy, which was 1/8. So we're going to write 1/8. The next one was this one, which was the 2/3. And then our next one was the 0.75. And finally, the last one was the square root of 57. Okay? We are always writing the original numbers in order. We don't care about the decimal forms of the numbers. We only want the originals in order. Okay? Okay. So step 1, we're going to write it out. Step 1 for us, we're going to convert all the numbers to the same form, decimal form. Step 2, we're going to put them in order based on the direction. So if it says to go in least to greatest, smallest first, biggest last. Greatest to least, biggest first, smallest last. Okay? Remember, always write your final answer in the numbers in their original form. Okay? Original form again. Really important. Okay? Alright. Now, you guys are going to try to put these in order. Okay? So you're going to convert them, and then you're going to try to order them, and then you're going to write them in the order. So the order is ascending, so pay attention to it. Ascending order. Make sure you know what order that means. And then the other thing I want you to be aware of, we got negative numbers here. Okay? So you should definitely be paying attention. If it's negative, it's going to be on the smaller side. Alright? So keep that in mind. Those negative numbers are really important. So try to order that on your own. We will go over it next class. Example 2, put the following in descending order. So like I said, we should be circling, boxing, highlighting, coloring, whatever we need to do to make sure we know what order. So descending means we are going from least, or we're going from greatest to least, so big to small. Okay? Big to small. Big to small. Let's make sure we know that. Okay? Big to small. So, we have our numbers. Negative 2/3, negative 0.7, negative 0.61, and negative 6 times 10 to the negative 1. They're all negatives. Okay? So we got to keep in mind about the number line. Alright, I'm going to draw a little number line here to help you. It's not going to be great, and we're not going to make fun of it, but when we talk about negative numbers, I'm going to put 0 here. We go in the reverse order. So this is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Okay? So here, negative 3 is smaller than the negative 1. Okay? So keep that in mind. It's almost like reversing the order. Okay? So we have negative 2/3. We got to convert that to a decimal, so we're going to do 2 divided by 3 and then chuck the negative on top of it. So that gives us negative 0.6, repeating, which is 0.666, ... thing. We have negative 0.7, so we can just write that. We have negative 0.61, so we can write that. We have a scientific notation, which means that decimal point needs to get moved one space over, because this is just a -1, one space to the left. So that actually becomes -0.6. Okay? So now we're looking at it, because they're all negative, we're actually going to go, we're still going from biggest number to smallest number, but it's going to look a little weird. So we look at the first number first, 0, 0, 0, 0. Then we're going to look at the next number. We have a 6, 7, 6, and 6. So 7 is actually going to be our smallest number, because even though it looks like it's the biggest number, it's the furthest away from 0 on the negative side. So it's actually the smallest number here. It's the furthest to the left on the number line. So that is our smallest number. Next, let's go back and see if there's anything else. So we have a 6, a 6, and a 6. They're all the same now. So we got to move to the next digit. So the next one here, this guy has a 6. Okay, so I look at the 6 here, a 1 and a 0. There's nothing there, so I put a 0. So now I can order it. This guy is the next furthest away on the negative side, so it's still down here. We're not getting any closer to the positive side. So this one is our second to or the next smallest number. Okay? Then we have a 1, so that's the next smallest, and a 0, that's actually the biggest number, because that one is closest to 0 and it's the closest to moving towards the positive side. Alright, so now I'm going to rewrite it. So this guy is my first one. The scientific notation is what I'm going to write first. -6x times 10 to the -1. No, -6 times 10 to the -1. There's no x there. Then the -0.61, followed by the 2/3, and then the -0.7. Okay? And it looks like it's in the wrong order because this is actually the biggest number, but because it's negative, it flips it around. So it makes it actually the smallest because it's the furthest to the left. Alright? You guys are going to try this on your own. You're doing least to greatest. You don't have any negatives here. So go ahead and try this on your own. We will go over the try on your own's next class. Other than that, I will see you later. Goodbye.